What if I told you that every successful person you admire, every leader who has achieved extraordinary results, every individual who has built lasting wealth and meaningful relationships has mastered one fundamental skill that most people never even realize exists? What if the difference between those who thrive and those who merely survive isn't intelligence, education, or even luck, but rather their ability to control and direct their emotional state at will? You're about to discover something that will change your life forever. The truth is, your emotions don't control you, you control your emotion. And once you understand this simple but profound principle, you will never again be at the mercy of negative feelings, destructive thoughts, or emotional reactions that sabotage your success and happiness. Here's what we know from decades of research at Harvard Medical School, Stanford University, and the Institute of Heart Math. The average person experiences over 60,000 thoughts per day, and for most people, 80% of those thoughts are negative. These negative thoughts trigger negative emotions, which create negative actions, which produce negative results. It's a downward spiral that keeps millions of Americans trapped in lives of quiet desperation, wondering why success seems to elude them while others seem to effortlessly achieve their dreams. But here's the extraordinary news. You can change this pattern completely. You can learn to master your emotional state just as surely as you can learn to drive a car, operate a computer, or perform any other skill. The techniques I'm going to share with you today are based on over 30 years of research into human psychology and the study of peak performance. These methods have been tested and proven by thousands of successful individuals across every field of human endeavor. Today, I am going to reveal to you the 7 fundamental laws of emotional mastery that will transform your life. These aren't theories or philosophies, they're practical, proven principles that work every single time they're applied. By the end of our time together, you'll have a complete system for eliminating negative emotions permanently and replacing them with the positive, powerful emotions that drive extraordinary achievement. The first law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional. This law states that you are completely responsible for your emotional state at all times. No one else can make you feel anything without your permission. No external circumstance, no matter how challenging, can control your emotions unless you allow it to do so. This is perhaps the most difficult concept for most Americans to accept because we've been conditioned by our culture to believe that our emotions are automatic responses to external events. We say things like, "He made me angry," or "That situation stressed me out, she hurt my feelings." But these statements are fundamentally false. They represent a victim mentality that keeps you powerless and at the mercy of circumstances beyond your control. The truth is that between any stimulus and your response, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose your response, and in that choice lies your freedom and your destiny. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps, discovered this principle under the most extreme conditions imaginable. He observed that even when stripped of everything, freedom, possessions, even basic human dignity, he still retained the power to choose his attitude and emotional response. Dr. Martin Seligman's groundbreaking research at the University of Pennsylvania has shown that optimistic people, those who take responsibility for their emotional states, live longer, earn more money, have better relationships, and experience significantly less stress and depression than those who see themselves as victims of circumstance. The data is overwhelming. Emotional responsibility is not just a nice philosophical concept, it's a practical necessity for success and happiness. Here's how you apply this law immediately. The next time you feel a negative emotion beginning to arise, stop and ask yourself, how am I choosing to respond to this situation? Notice I said choosing because that's exactly what you're doing. You're making a choice, consciously or unconsciously, about how to feel. Once you recognize that it's a choice, you can make a different choice. The second law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional interruption. This law states that negative emotions, like fires, require fuel to continue burning. Cut off the fuel, and the emotion dies instantly. The fuel of negative emotions is your attention and your internal dialogue. When you stop feeding negative emotions with your thoughts and words, they disappear as quickly as they appeared. Think of your mind as a garden. Whatever you plant and water will grow. If you plant and nurture thoughts of anger, resentment, fear, or frustration, those emotions will flourish and dominate your mental landscape. But if you refuse to plant these seeds, if you immediately uproot them the moment they appear, your mental garden will be filled with positive, productive thoughts that serve your highest. Research conducted at UCLA's Department of Neuroscience has demonstrated that when people label their emotions, simply naming what they're feeling, the emotional intensity decreases by as much as 50% within 60 seconds. This process, called affect labeling, works because it engages the rational part of your brain, which then regulates the emotional centers. The moment you say, "I notice I'm feeling angry," "I'm experiencing frustration," you've already begun to regain control. But here's the key. You must interrupt negative emotions the instant they begin, not after they've had time to build momentum. Just as it's easier to put out a match than a forest fire, it's infinitely easier to stop a negative emotion at its inception than after it has fully developed. The longer you allow a negative emotion to persist, the stronger it becomes and the more difficult it is to eliminate. The practical application is this: develop the habit of emotional vigilance. Monitor your internal state constantly. The moment you notice any negative emotion beginning to form, immediately shift your attention to something positive and constructive. This isn't denial or suppression, it's conscious choice and emotional intelligence in action. The third law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional substitution. This law states that your mind cannot hold two contradictory emotions simultaneously. You cannot feel grateful and angry at the same time. You cannot experience love and hatred simultaneously. You cannot be confident and fearful in the same moment. This is one of the most powerful laws because it gives you a specific technique for instantly changing your emotional state. Dr. Robert Emmons' research at UC Davis has shown that people who practice gratitude regularly experience 25% higher levels of happiness, have stronger immune systems, sleep better, and are more optimistic about the future. Gratitude is perhaps the most powerful positive emotion because it's impossible to feel grateful and negative simultaneously. When you're truly grateful, every cell in your body aligns with abundance, possibility, and joy. The moment you feel any negative emotion, immediately ask yourself, "What am I grateful for right now?" Then begin listing everything in your life that you appreciate: your health, your family, your opportunities, your freedom, your potential. Force yourself to find at least 10 things you're grateful for, and watch as the negative emotion dissolves completely. But gratitude is just one substitution technique. You can also substitute fear with curiosity by asking, "What can I learn from this situation?" You can substitute anger with compassion by asking, "What pain might this person be experiencing that's causing them to act this?" You can substitute worry with excitement by asking, "What opportunities might this challenge create?" The key is to have your emotional substitutions ready before you need them. Successful people develop an arsenal of positive emotions they can access instantly when negative emotions threaten to derail their progress. They practice these substitutions until they become automatic responses. The fourth law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional causation. This law states that all emotions are caused by your thoughts, not by external circumstances. Change your thoughts, and you automatically change your emotions. This law is based on the fundamental principle of cognitive psychology. Thoughts precede emotions, and emotions drive behavior. Dr. Aaron Beck, the father of cognitive behavioral therapy, demonstrates through decades of research that depressed individuals consistently engage in 3 types of distorted thinking. They view themselves negatively, they interpret their experiences pessimistically, and they see their future as hopeless. When these thought patterns are corrected, the depression lifts. This same principle applies to all negative emotion. Consider this. 2 people can experience the identical event and have completely different emotional responses. One person loses their job and becomes devastated, seeing it as proof of their inadequacy and fearing they'll never find work again. Another person loses their job and feels excited, viewing it as an opportunity to find something better and trusting that everything happens for a reason. Same event, different thoughts, completely different emotions. The thoughts that create negative emotions fall into predictable patterns. Dr. David Burns identified 10 common thinking errors that create emotional distress: all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, mental filtering, discounting the positive, jumping to conclusion, magnification, emotional reasoning, should statement, labeling, and personalization. When you learn to recognize these patterns in your own thinking, you can immediately correct them and change your emotional state. Here's the practical application. Become aware of your internal dialogue. Most people have a constant stream of unconscious commentary running through their minds, and much of this commentary is negative, critical, and destructive. Start paying attention to what you are saying to yourself. Are you encouraging and supportive, or critical and pessimistic? Are you focusing on possibilities or problems? Are you looking for what's right or what's wrong? Remember, you become what you think about most of the time. If your thoughts are predominantly negative, your emotions will be predominantly negative, and your results will reflect this negativity. But when you consciously choose positive, constructive thoughts, your emotions align with success and achievement. The fifth law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional focus. This law states that your emotions follow your focus like a shadow follows your body. Whatever you focus on expands in your experience. Focus on problems and you'll feel stressed and overwhelmed. Focus on solutions and you'll feel confident and resourceful. Focus on what's missing and you'll feel deprived and frustrated. Focus on what you have and you'll feel abundant and fulfilled. This principle is supported by neuroscientific research on attention and perception. Dr. Michael Posner's work at the University of Oregon has shown that attention literally reshapes the brain. When you consistently focus on positive aspects of your experience, you strengthen neural pathways associated with positive emotion. When you focus on negative aspects, you reinforce neural pathways associated with stress, anxiety, and depression. The reticular activating system in your brain acts like a filter, determining what information reaches your conscious awareness. When you focus on something, you program your RAS to notice more of it. If you focus on problems, you'll see problems everywhere. If you focus on opportunities, you'll see opportunities everywhere. If you focus on what's going well in your life, you'll notice more and more things to feel good about. This is why successful people seem to live in a different world than unsuccessful people. They're not experiencing different events, they're focusing on different aspects of the same events. The successful person looks for the opportunity in every difficulty. The unsuccessful person looks for the difficulty in every opportunity. Here's how to apply this law. Consciously direct your mental focus throughout the day. When you wake up, focus on what you're looking forward to. When challenges arise, focus on solutions rather than problems. When interacting with others, focus on their positive qualities rather than their flaws. When reviewing your day, focus on what went well rather than what went wrong. Create what I call focus questions that automatically direct your attention to positive, productive aspects of your experience. Questions like, what's great about this situation? What can I learn here? How can I use this to grow stronger? What opportunities does this create? These questions program your mind to look for the positive in every circumstance. The sixth law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional physiology. This law states that your physical state directly influences your emotional state. Change your physiology, and you instantly change your emotions. This connection between body and mind is so powerful that it's virtually impossible to feel depressed when your body is in a peak physical state. Dr. Amy Cuddy's research at Harvard Business School has demonstrated that simply changing your posture for 2 minutes can increase confidence hormones by 20% and decrease stress hormones by 25%. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with purpose, your brain receives signals that you're confident and in control. Your emotions follow immediately. Consider the physiology of different emotional states. When you're depressed, your shoulders slump, your head hangs down, your breathing becomes shallow, and your movements are slow and lethargic. When you're confident and energetic, your shoulders are back, your head is up, your breathing is deep and full, and your movements are quick and decisive. The remarkable discovery is that this relationship works in both directions. Not only do your emotions affect your physiology, but your physiology affects your emotion. You can literally change how you feel by changing how you hold your body, how you breathe, and how you move. Professional athletes have known this principle for decades. Before competing, they use specific physical rituals to get into peak emotional states. They pump their fists, jump up and down, breathe deeply, and engage in movements that create feelings of power and confidence. You can use the same techniques to master your emotional state in any situation. Here's the immediate application. Identify the physical positions and movements that make you feel most confident and energetic. This might be standing with your feet shoulder-width apart, chest up, shoulders back, and arms at your sides. Practice deep, diaphragmatic breathing, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, and exhaling for 4 counts. Move your body with purpose and energy throughout the day. When you feel a negative emotion beginning to develop, immediately change your physiology. Stand up, move around, breathe deeply, and put your body into a position of strength and confidence. You'll be amazed at how quickly your emotional state shifts. The seventh and final law of emotional mastery is the law of emotional programming. This law states that you can program yourself to automatically respond to any situation with positive, productive emotions through the consistent practice of mental rehearsal and positive conditioning. Just as athletes visualize successful performance before competing, You can visualize yourself responding to challenging situations with calm confidence, wisdom, and emotional control. Dr. Alvaro Pascual Leone's research at Harvard Medical School has shown that mental practice creates the same neural pathways as actual practice. When you mentally rehearse positive emotional responses, you're literally rewiring your brain for emotional mastery. The most successful people in every field use this principle consistently. They don't wait for challenging situations to arise and then hope they'll respond well. They prepare for success by programming their minds in advance. They visualize themselves handling difficult conversations with grace, responding to setbacks with resilience, and maintaining positive emotions even under pressure. This programming happens through repetition and emotional intensity. The more vividly you and yourself responding positive to challenges, and the more emotion you put into these mental rehearsals, the more automatic these responses become in real. Here's how to implement this law. Spend 10 minutes each morning visualizing your ideal emotional responses to the challenges you might face that day. See yourself remaining calm under pressure, responding to criticism with confidence, handling setbacks with resilience, and maintaining positive energy regardless of circumstances. Make these visualizations as detailed and emotionally intense as possible. Also, use affirmations to program positive emotional responses. Statements like, "I am in complete control of my emotional state. I choose peace and confidence in every situation, and I respond to all challenges with wisdom and strength," become beliefs when repeated with conviction and emotion. Now, let me share with you the ultimate truth about negative emotions that most people never understand. All negative emotions can be traced back to one fundamental source: the belief that you are not in control of your life and circumstances. Fear comes from believing you can't handle what might happen. Anger comes from believing someone else has power over your happiness. Worry comes from believing you can't influence future outcomes. Frustration comes from believing you're powerless to change your situation. But when you truly understand and apply these 7 laws of emotional mastery, you realize that you have far more control than you ever imagined. You don't control external events, but you have complete control over your internal responses to those events. And your internal responses, your thoughts, emotions, and attitudes ultimately determine the quality of your life and the level of your success. The most successful people in America are entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, leaders like Oprah Winfrey and Tony Robbins, athletes like Tom Brady and Serena Williams have all mastered their emotional states. They've learned to remain calm under pressure, confident in the face of criticism, and optimistic despite setbacks. This emotional mastery isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for anyone who wants to achieve extraordinary results. Research conducted by the Carnegie Institute of Technology showed that 85% of financial success is due to well-developed soft skills and the ability to communicate, negotiate, and manage emotions, while only 15% is due to technical knowledge. In other words, your ability to master your emotions is more important to your success than your intelligence, education, or technical skills. The consequences of not mastering your emotions are severe. People who remain at the mercy of negative emotions experience chronic stress, which leads to compromised immune system, cardiovascular problems, and accelerated aging. They struggle in relationships because emotional volatility creates conflict and pushes people away. They limit their career potential because employers avoid promoting emotionally unstable individuals to positions of leadership and responsibility. But when you master your emotions, everything changes. You become a magnet for opportunities because people are drawn to those who remain calm and confident under pressure. You make better decisions because you are not clouded by fear, anger, or anxiety. You build stronger relationships because you respond to conflicts with wisdom rather than reactivity. You achieve your goals faster because you maintain consistent focus and motivation regardless of temporary setback. Let me give you a specific technique that combines all 7 laws into one powerful practice. I call it the Master Technique, and it will give you complete control over your emotional state in less than 60 seconds. M stands for monitor. Become aware of your emotional state throughout the day. Notice when negative emotions begin to arise before they gain momentum. A stands for accept. Take complete responsibility for your emotional state. Acknowledge that you're choosing your response consciously or unconsciously. S stands for stop. Immediately interrupt the negative emotion by shifting your attention away from whatever is triggering it. T stands for transform. Use the law of substitution to replace the negative emotion with a positive one, typically gratitude or curiosity. E stands for energize. Change your physiology by standing tall, breathing deeply, and moving with purpose and confidence. R stands for redirect. Focus your attention on solutions, opportunities, and positive outcomes rather than problems and obstacles. Practice this technique consistently for 30 days, and you'll find that emotional mastery becomes automatic. You'll no longer be controlled by circumstances, you'll control your responses to circumstances. The time to begin is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when life becomes easier or less stressful. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to take complete control of your emotional state. You can decide that no external circumstance will ever again determine how you feel or how you respond. Remember, you already possess everything you need to master your emotions. You don't need special equipment, expensive training, or years of therapy. You need only the decision to take responsibility and the commitment to practice these principles consistently. Here's your immediate action plan. For the next 7 days, choose one of these laws and focus on it completely. Day 1. Practice emotional responsibility. Catch yourself every time you blame external circumstances for how you feel. Day 2. Practice emotional interruption. Stop negative emotions the moment they begin. Continue through all 7 laws, spending 1 day mastering each principle. After 7 days, begin combining the techniques. Use the master technique whenever negative emotions arise. Practice daily visualization to program positive responses. Monitor your internal dialogue and replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Within 30 days, you'll notice a dramatic transformation in your emotional state, your relationships, your productivity, and your overall quality of life. People will comment on your positive energy and ask what you've been doing differently. Opportunities will begin appearing because you're approaching life from a position of strength rather than weakness. But most importantly, you will have the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you're in complete control of your inner world. No matter what challenges arise, no matter what unexpected events occur, you know that you have the tools to maintain your emotional equilibrium and respond with wisdom, strength, and effectiveness. This is your moment of decision. You can continue living at the mercy of your emotions, allowing external circumstances to determine your internal state, accepting emotional mediocrity as normal. Or you can choose mastery. You can choose to join the small percentage of people who have taken complete control of their emotional lives and, as a result, have created extraordinary success and fulfillment. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your journey to emotional mastery begins with your very next thought, your very next breath, your very next decision. Make it count. Make it powerful. Make it the beginning of the most successful and fulfilling chapter of your life. You have within you, right now, everything necessary to eliminate negative emotions permanently and replace them with the positive, powerful emotions that drive extraordinary achievement. The question isn't whether you can do it, the question is whether you will do it. I know you will, because you've stayed with me this far, and that tells me you're committed to excellence in every area of your life. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. Choose mastery. Choose control. Choose the emotional freedom that leads to unlimited success and lasting happiness. Your greatest life awaits you on the other side of this decision.